Okay, the time is 20 to 1 and I'm just getting ready to go out. Sounds a bit crazy, maybe a bit stupid, but I want to do some starscapes, can we call that? Or as it's also known, astrophotography. When I was away in Spain, Lanzarote, I had such I had one good photo that I loved and I really want to try and emulate, and it's an area of photography I really want to improve on. Don't really know much about it, don't really know how to do it, so there's only one way to get better at it, and that's just to do it. One thing has just occurred to me. I've really got to stop using Laura's flasks. See me or not, I'll try not to look too much at the screen. Just got my hot chocolate. It is currently about 2:45 and I've taken a few shots up here and some have worked and some haven't, and that's just a case of there's zero ambient light. So if you're going to photograph something with zero light, then you need to be quite close to it and maybe illuminate it with your head torch if you can. I'm not expecting any sort of moonrise for another couple of hours, so it's going to be a lot of darkness. I'm going to try and photograph, I was just about to show you, but you probably can't see it, just in that direction here. I'm stood on the top of British Camp currently, and for those of you that know British Camp or have been here before, it's the second highest peak in the southern end of the Malverns, so I'm going to do a shot looking north. There's a lot of light pollution in that direction, but that shouldn't really matter. If anything, that might help because it might illuminate the sort of spine of the Malvern Hills, which might look nice. So might not get too many stars, but I've just done a 5-shot vertical panorama with yours truly stood in the middle, and that might work as a panorama or it might just work as a single image. I'm not too sure yet, but it looks really cool because when I came, I mean, again, anyone that knows the Malverns, there's a path all the way from the car park to the top of British Camp, and it's towards the top there is a deliberate stone path with steps, and my idea was actually to stand at the top of it looking down, which is actually the shot I'm going to do now. But as I was walking up to it, I thought, you know what, as I'm sort of looking upwards towards the stars, this path looks like a great leading line towards them. So that might be a good little tip actually for anyone looking to photograph stars. It's always better maybe to photograph looking upwards, i.e. a mountain, almost at the top of a mountain looking upwards, capturing the summit, rather than stood on the summit looking down. You might have more joy, you might be able to get more sky in that way. Anyway, I'm going to crack on, I'm going to finish my hot chockey, which is going down a treat by the way, and I think I'm just going to get the shot in the bag and then head down into the car park and then head home. But yeah, as you can appreciate, I can't really vlog much because you won't be able to see me. So I'm going to pick this up and probably in the morning, and I'm going to take you through an edit. But as for now, let's see if I can get this shot. So I'll see you in the car. Oh, dear me. Made it back to the car. That was so much fun. There's something so cool. I mean, as you guys, if you are landscape people, then you will know how much the solitude is great for you. Sometimes you just need to be on your own, but sometimes when you're in an environment like this, when the rest of 99.9% of people and animals are asleep, you really feel like you're on your own. So as weird as that sounds, it's quite liberating. And as soon as you get over the fear factor, because it's a bit spooky walking through the woods and walking up mountains and hills on your own, as soon as you get over that, it's brilliant. And I'm going to give you 3 really quick pieces of advice just straight off the bat that I've noticed today. First of all, wear decent footwear. I didn't realise this, but because the Malverns are sort of 400-500 meters above sea level. It's been very cold today. There's actually snow at the top. So from 300 meters upwards, it was quite a dusting of snow really. So you need appropriate footwear. Secondly, take something with you, like a chocolate bar, or to keep your sugar levels up. I took some hot chocolate. That was a lovely little treat. In between a few long exposures, get the hot chocolate out. Beautiful. And thirdly, is get yourself one of these little babies. This has been so... I couldn't have done tonight's shoot without that. So get yourself a head torch. You don't have to spend loads of money on it. This cost me, I don't know, 5-6 quid. I think I got that from somewhere like Pound Stretcher in the UK or something like that. Maybe I should think about investing in a better one if I want to make more trips like this. But that one's done me the trick. That one's done the trick. I've used that on several occasions. It's not let me down. So I've had a look at the back of some of the photos. Got a little bit creative on the way down. Found some cool trees and the stars sort of were shining through the branches, what I thought looked cool. Then I added myself in for an extra ingredient. Then I got my mobile phone out, put the torch on, stood in front of it. So it's got the feeling of an off-camera flash feel about it. And yeah, so I got, I think, 3 cool images today that I'm really happy with tonight. So it's 3:24. This is by far the longest I've ever been out. I don't think I've ever done a photo shoot this late or this early. I don't think I've ever got up this early, even summer. This is crazy late. So I'm back now. In fact, actually, I'm coming at you from the future. It's not the day after. I'm just going to fiddle with this camera. Hang on. Total guesswork here, so sorry if this is wonky. So I'm coming at you from the future now. It's future Andy Mag. And I want to just go over a couple of things to do with the photos. Now, I said I'd go through an edit, but instead of an edit, what might be more helpful to both you guys, if you're thinking about doing some Astro stuff, and to me as well, for a learning process, I'm just going to quickly take you through some of the favourites, the photos that you will have already seen by now, that I flashed up on screen. So, I like to be honest with you guys, as honest as I can be, because I think being really visceral and upfront and, you know, really being honest about your work is the best way to be. And I don't really want to let you think that my work is something that it's not. Now, I made a big mistake when I was shooting. You might have already noticed it in the edits, especially in the panorama. Now, you'll notice that halfway across, they're the most visible. And you'll see some like dark lines really that run for sort of top to bottom. And they are basically where the panorama's been stitched together. And because of the vignetting of the lens, I didn't address that in Lightroom before I stitched them together. So when the panorama's been stitched together, I'm left with these vertical sort of darker areas. And as cool as they might look, they might distract they might attract unwanted attention. So one way you can avoid that, I'll tell you one way you can avoid that. You can, if you use primes, because when you're shooting stars, you want to open that aperture right out to 2.8 or whatever you can. And if you're using a zoom lens, then the chances are that you might have sort of, well, distortion as well. So your stars might look a little bit blurry on the edges. And also you might have these darker corners. And on prime lenses, if you don't know what a prime lens is like a fixed focal length, i.e. a 24mm, I don't know, 1.8 I think Sigma do, and there's also obviously a nifty 50, a 50 1.8 or an 85 1.4, so it's a fixed focal length. If you use one of them, you've got a better chance of making a really accurate stitch. However, if you don't, and you've got a similar lens to what I've got, which does vignette, again, it's actually an effect that I really like in normal life, like especially at weddings, because the vignette is a part of my style. But here it's unwanted because I'm stitching them together. I don't want random vignettes in the middle of my shot. So what I could have done, I should have noticed it before I stitched them together. And what I should have done really is synced all the photos with a artificial vignette that's being lightened in the corners. So in Lightroom, you can basically drag the vignette slider to the left and it will darken the corners, but if you drag it to the right, it lightens the corners. So providing your camera and your lens are good enough that you've got some information, i.e. stars, you can bring it back to life. Or another idea would be just to crop those corners out. And what you can then do, if you know that this is going to happen in advance, then what I would recommend is shooting all your separate images quite close together. So we usually go with a 60% rule, so try and put 60% of the next photo into what was in the previous one, if that makes sense. So don't just do one photo here, next photo here, next photo here, because the camera won't be able to stitch, Photoshop and your software, Lightroom, won't be able to stitch together the photographs. So make sure you use that 60% rule. Again, something I'll cover in another video, but there's tons of info about it on other YouTubers have made loads of videos about that. So that's my big thing there. I'd avoid doing that because it looks maybe a bit pants. Maybe you didn't even notice it, but because it's in front of my face, I'm looking at it all the time and it's noticeable. So avoid it if you can. Correct that distortion, correct that vignette if you do get vignetting in before you stitch it together for a panorama, is my advice. If you can avoid it, then avoid it. The same happened in my stairs one leading into the Malverns looking north, which again, a really cool photo, but it's a little bit, looks like a dark Milky Way, which is not what you want. And the star of the show, I think, no pun intended. No, actually, pun intended, because that's pretty good. I didn't even do that on purpose. So pun not intended, but now I've thought about it, I've intended it. Anyway, is this one. Now, I really like it. I think it's quite gothic looking. It's a bit freaky and a bit weird because those winter trees might give you a bit of a eerie kind of feel, and with the stars at the top, and we've got a graduated dark to light polluted sky, which I quite like. I quite like the peachy colour going through the purples. I think that looks really quite cool. And we've got blurry trees because of the wind. So yeah, actually really pleased with this. And all I did was I put the camera right next to the tree trunk and just looked up, as you can see. And that's as easy as that. ISO 2000, f2.8, they're 30 seconds. I think all these were 30-second exposures, as was the final one, which was the self-portrait, where I went and stood sort of 20 metres away, probably less than that, 10 metres away, and I used my phone torch on my phone to light myself behind me, and I chose to face the torch. So what would happen is if I blocked the light to the light's path to the sensor of the camera, it would give me a silhouette. It would show me in silhouette, which it does. So I quite like that as well. That's quite a cool effect. And so they're the four photos that I quite liked. But yeah, so the main thing I wanted to mention is I want to be honest with you guys. I'm always trying to be honest. I'm always trying to learn. I wouldn't ever believe a photographer that claims to know it all. Professionals, amateurs, whoever. Nobody knows it all. Everyone is constantly learning. And like I said earlier in this video, the whole point of doing things like this is to learn. And if you don't make mistakes, you'll never learn. So that's today's pearl of wisdom from your Uncle Andy Mag. I'm going to leave it there for this vlog. So thanks for watching this one. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on Monday for another miscellaneous Monday. But until then, have a fantastic weekend. Tell your friends. La, 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 la,